G'day everybody, my name is Elliot Waters and you're listening to the Dysregulated podcast. As always, thank you for tuning in. Alright, so just a little update on how things have been tracking the last few weeks. In particular, this week. I want to focus on this week because this week has been the 5am starts at work. I know you're probably sick of me going on about it, but it has relevance because there's been a real clear relationship developed between my lack of sleep and my lack of confidence in looking for a job moving forward. And I think it's worth noting. So the last episode I did was me fueled by my anger at not moving in life and just sort of treading water and wanting to get a new job and, you know, sort of get on with my career a bit more, something I'm a little bit more engaged with. Well, it's interesting that over this past week, as the 5am shifts have been going every day, been doing that, 4 hours sleep here, 5 hours sleep there, maybe 6, I think one night if I was really lucky. But the more that this sort of sleep debt has accumulated, the less confidence I have in my abilities. And it's been, as I said, it's been pronounced in the sense that I'm at work and I'm thinking about this sort of stuff while I'm doing my work. Thinking, I think this could be it. This is all I should be aiming for. These hopes and dreams of a new job and actually, doing something with my degree and stuff. We can't do that. We've got too many things going on upstairs, there's too much head noise. I do not have the confidence and I do not have the ability to be able to do anything about potentially moving into a new position and gaining a bit more responsibility and maybe doing something that is a little bit more in line with my meaning and purpose in that psychology degree that I've got as well. But it's very interesting. So, Monday I didn't work, so, I do Tuesday to Saturday, in case you forgot. Today being Friday, by the way. Monday, putting resumes in, feeling good, on top of the world, try and stop me, I'm the man. Potentially a little bit manic, whatever, let's ride with it. But as the week's gone on, that imposter syndrome has just grown and been more emboldened and fueled by this lack of sleep. And, in general, everything gets a bit grey, a bit negative when I haven't slept. We all know what it's like. We all know what being sleep deprived is like and having sleep debt accumulate and what can happen. But for me, it's definitely something that's very significant. Often or usually it's anxiety is the big one. Anxiety pops up and, I'm freaking out about every little thing. But it's this real deeper sort of, belief, self-belief about my abilities, which has really been the key feature of this week, and how my trust in that it goes beyond just the idea of getting a new job. My trust in the world's giving me the things that not giving me the things, but allowing me to have the things that I would like, as long as I work hard and do all that sort of stuff. That's sort of the dream, that's the goal. It's like, all right, the more you put in, the more you get out, let's go. But you got to have a bit of faith in that idea. It doesn't present itself and reveal itself straight away. You got to put the sacrifice in. And a lot of that is you got to have belief and keep the faith, so to speak. And when I'm sleep deprived, my faith in things working out like I'd like them to dwindles, which makes sense. Anxiety goes up, my fear of the future goes up, and all of a sudden everything's a bit shaky and I get really, I don't know, it's hard to explain. So I say a lot with my anxiety that there's fight or flight, as we know, but there's also freeze, and that's what I tend to engage with. I shut down and go within myself mentally and even physically by, staying at home and, staying in bed under the covers or whatever, or really getting into some deep ruminations and blocking out sort of my external environment, being a bit disassociated even. The anxiety can cause that sort of feeling as well. But it's also, that's sort of like a tangible example of the freeze mode and not being able to move, and sort of shutting down. But metaphorically, I would say there's that sort of freeze as well, because I look at my life like a spectrum, I guess, maybe not a spectrum, maybe a continuum, and I'm up to 33 out of who knows how many years, 100 maybe. But when I look at the continuum, even in that sort of image that I'm presenting to myself, that representation of the road ahead and the road that's been, even that representation shows me sort of stopping and being really rooted to the ground in that spot, not moving. Bit hard to explain. It's a shame I can't quite unzip my brain, just be like, hey, look, this is what I'm perceiving. Look at this. Look how crazy this thought is. That would be pretty cool. But does that make sense? Like, even when I imagine myself going through life moving forward, because there's this anxiety, and there's all storm clouds in this vision up ahead and everything, even in my vision, in a metaphorical sort of sense, I stay very grounded, not the good grounded. I mean grounded as in not moving at all, concrete in the shoes sort of stuff. So even that sort of, the dream state, which you go into sometimes, to try and predict the future and try and work towards something meaningful, you got to sort of, think a little bit and be a bit imaginative. But even in these imaginations, I'm sort of staying still and not moving. Jeez, I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe it just makes sense into my sleep-deprived mind. But there's that sort of, I don't know. Does anyone else sort of feel that as well? Where, it's you're anxious about the future. So even when you sort of think of your life from a meta point of view, broadened out, zoomed out, and you see the whole continuum and what's up ahead and what's been, even in that sort of dreamlike state, I'm very much solid to the ground, and not in a good way, not anchored to the ground as in anchored to the moment, because it's more of a dreamlike state, as I said. So anyway, I don't know if that makes sense. I'm sort of just rambling now, but that's what the sleep, sort of lack of sleep does, a couple of nights, a 4 hours sleep here, a 5 here, another 4 there. The sleep debt accumulates, and in line with the sleep debt accumulating, the anxiety goes up as well. But what's really been a feature of this week has been that imposter syndrome and that lack of belief in my abilities and the value that I can offer people. That has also really, really gone up. It's been a really sharp sort, it's almost like a mood swing in a sense. I went from being really elated and then bang, crashed back to earth, and now, feeling anything but. And that's similar in a sense to how this belief in my abilities has gone. I've swung from being really confident and believing that I can do some good things, and there's been this sharp, rapid mood swing down, saying that I can't do anything. And then we can explore that further in the sense of ADHD, but also BPD, in that real black and white thinking. This sort of, it's the same principle, black and white thinking, all or nothing, all good, all bad. Either I'm going to not take over the world, but, take on the world is probably a better way of putting it. Take on the world and do these amazing things, or I've got absolutely no hope in hell and I'm lucky I got a job at all because I am hopeless. It's the same black and white thinking that is such a theme throughout so many things that I do and so many things that I feel. This black and white thinking, unfortunately, when it comes to sort of this idea of jobs, and not just jobs and career, anything in general really that I think of myself doing. Either I'm 100%, yep, I can do that, this is brilliant, or no chance at all. It is a theme that has repeated itself over and over and over again in so many different domains, is black and white thinking, these sharp sort of mood swing events. And unfortunately, this is no different when it comes to my confidence in my abilities and the things that I can offer the world. So sleep debt is not good. So there's a clear relationship, I believe, between that and obviously my anxiety. That's a given. But really this whole, because this is what we've been working on in therapy, trying to get this real, much more positive sense of self and my potential as well, and then being able to hopefully harness this supposed potential. And it's really annoying because I've applied for all these jobs and I think about them now, and instead of thinking like I did in the start of the week, like, what a great opportunity that would be. I could do so many amazing things for my life and, I'd be so engaged, blah, 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 all that sort of positive rubbish, positive, really good stuff. But now as I sit here now, I'm thinking of those jobs that I've applied for. I'm like, holy dooly, I've overextended here, I've overstepped, I'm out of my league. This is going to be embarrassing if I get an interview because they're going to find out how hopeless I really am. And a lot of this has to do with sleep. And it's not just sleep either, it's just the fundamentals. When I do these shifts too, I don't eat very good because I'm losing heaps of weight at the moment. I'm going to do an episode on that soon because the stimulant medication, Vyvanse in my case, is as it used to before. It's doing it again. I'm dropping weight everywhere. I'm just not really eating much. But, for your happy dopamine, serotonin, neurochemicals, you still need those basic sort of building blocks that you get from nutrition. Psychiatrist told me this once when I was in hospital at my lightest in the last couple of years, when I was 60 kilos. She said, even serotonin and dopamine, to experience those things, it doesn't come from nowhere. You've got to have those fundamentals, the nutrition, for example, in this case, in place, so these neurochemicals can be created and then do what they need to do. And I'm slipping into that sort of same slump of not eating as much as I should. And when I do eat, I'm just forcing anything in. Because what I do, I force anything in just to get rid of the hunger pains. Because whenever I'm on stimulant medication, eating to me is a chore for some reason. I don't really enjoy it. It's a chore. And I'm only doing it to get rid of those hunger pains. And that means that my appetite, well, obviously my appetite's been suppressed, but my want of different foods and variety is also suppressed. So I tend to turn to things that are easy to get in. Like I have a banana here, I'll have a banana there and an apple, or I'll have some chips from McDonald's and some nuggets, just something to get in, not necessarily utilising the full scope of the nutritional sort of field, So not only do I start to lose weight, but I don't look very good either. I've got big bags under the eyes at the moment. I need a good haircut, I need to shave, trim the beard a bit. The depression beard's getting a bit crazy. I'm looking like I've been hibernating for 6 months. I've just come back out into the real world. But I do start to, I don't know, it feels like, I start to look grey because I'm definitely feeling grey, that's for sure. So the fundamentals, when I'm sleep deprived, everything else tends to fall away slowly but surely. Nutrition this week has been a big one. It's the nutrition that's a problem along with the actual sleep itself. So two fundamentals. And as a result, anxiety is kicked up as expected, but also this lack of belief in the self as well, which I've been having to try and, cognitively restructure and show evidence that isn't the case. And what I've been doing at work, this episode's going a bit longer than I thought, but what I've been doing at work is I think I said this maybe in the last episode, that everything I do, I'm sort of assessing what my decision is and if it worked and what other people thought, did people agree, looking for that sort of feedback from my environment, even though it is so biased and biased against the self, but that's the way it is. Every now and then I come up with a good idea and it's like, yeah, that's pretty good, Elliot. I can't really knock that. That's pretty good. I've had to do a lot of that this week because the automatic response whenever I think about anything to do with my abilities to do stuff has been really, really negative, that black and white thinking. So I've had to really try and push back, which is taxing as well, especially when you don't necessarily believe in it. I'm trying to say, oh, no, I'm good. Here's an example of something good I did. This shows that I'm worthy, all that sort of stuff. Imposter syndrome, get the hell out of here. It is hard to push back against those negative thoughts when they're so strong. And the positive stuff, it feels a bit manufactured, like I'm just coming up with it to sort of throw back at the imposter syndrome, the inner critic, without maybe completely believing it in that moment. So anyway, it's been an interesting week. It has been a tough week. I tell you, if you looked at me now, like I said, I need a haircut and shave the depression beard a little bit. But one of my eyes has gone black. It looks like, people asked me at work today, someone punched you in the face. I was like, no, can you believe it? They should have by now, but no one has. But really, I've got a black eye. And I think it's because I've been so tired of me rubbing my eyes so much that, it's just gone, I don't know, rubbed too hard or something. I don't remember doing it. I was at work today and my mate, he's like, geez, mate, someone clock you, did they? About time. I was like, no. I went to the bathroom and there we go. This big shiny black eye. And I'm like, whoa, where does that come from? So if there's if you want, for me, the anxiety level is obviously an indicator of the tiredness and how far behind I am on sleep, and obviously feeling tired, the basics, we all know that. I feel really tired, which means maybe I'm really tired. Basic stuff. But the fact that I'm rubbing my eyes so hard that I'm getting a black eye because I'm so tired, that says to me, we need to have a good sleep once this week's over. Today's Friday, one shift to go tomorrow, almost there. And the other thing too, I mention this a lot, but I will mention it again because it has been a big feature of this week as well, has been the social anxiety has kicked up a gear big time, which is again not unusual because, anxiety goes up. I'm not talking just my generalized anxiety. All of them go up, so the social aspect does too. The OCD sort of stuff does as well. But it's been difficult because I'm also remembering tapering very slowly off the Lyrica, the pregabalin, which I used to use, or do still use, for social anxiety. So it's been a bit of a double whammy. The less of a dose of the Lyrica, the pregabalin, along with the lack of sleep, equals a very socially anxious Elliot, let me tell you. And, I've said this many times before and I'll say it again, the job that I do at Bunnings Warehouse, it's hard in the sense that there is a lot of customer-facing, interactions. And I've said before, I'm repeating a lot of what I've said before, but, even at the best of times, I'm looking at customers that are walking towards me and I'm thinking, oh no, what's this going to be? They're going to ask a question, I'm going to have no idea, I'm going to look like an idiot. And that's at the best of times. So you can imagine this week has been pretty hard. I've been very anxious in general. I have not been handling, not that you would know, I hope, but the interpersonal interactions, conversations have been quite taxing for me. Then I'm battling with this idea that I've overextended myself with applying for these jobs and that I've actually got no value at all. Then, of course, there's the fact that I'm not eating very well, which makes you feel like garbage, and I'm feeling garbage because I haven't been sleeping well. So much so that I've been rubbing my eyes so much that I've got black eyes. So there you go. It's been an interesting week. But hey, that's these mental illnesses. They manifest themselves in very different ways. The black eye I did not see coming. But there you go. There's another example of how these things are all related. So all I can do is get the work tomorrow, get through it as best I can, which I'll do the job. Don't worry about that. Very seasoned campaigner. Very much used to this sleep-deprived, fueled anxiety, as listeners of the show would know. But yeah, the plan is just go get through tomorrow, and then, I don't know, this is where the next issue tends to pop up, which is this sleeping for days at a time. And I'm telling you, there is no chance that I'm going to be doing this 2-3 day sleep thing, because I just know that if I do that, the ramifications when I'm already feeling like this, I'm already feeling quite negative. It would just, I've got to keep pushing. And the way to keep pushing, and the way I've been pushing, this is my last point, hopefully, maybe, has been, unfortunately, see, this is what used to happen before. If you listen to the earlier episodes of the show, you would have heard me talk about this sort of stuff, which is using my ADHD medication, the Vyvanse. Yes, definitely for the ADHD symptoms, but primarily this week it's been just to stay awake and keep on pushing forward, because amphetamine does a really, really good job at that. But that's not what it's prescribed for, and that's when I get into a bit of trouble, because sometimes I go a little bit above the dosages and then tolerance sets in, and because the Vyvanse allows me to do more in at least two ways. One being I can attend to things better. I've got better attention span. I can see things through to the end, which is great. But then there's also this secondary component, which is maybe when I should be having a nap, I have a Vyvanse instead, and I keep on charging for another 6 hours, when really I should have had a little nap and then I'd be feeling better overall moving forward. But instead it's allowing me to do more things that maybe I shouldn't be doing, because I should be looking after number one. But instead I'm just guzzling some Vyvanse, getting some amphetamine in, and getting the job done. And this is where there's that conflict within as well, because part of me is like, got to look after ourselves, got to sleep. We don't want to, all the bad things that happen from that. But then there's that workaholic side that I've spoken about, which I will be speaking a lot more about moving forward. Huge part of therapy at the moment. This workaholic side that's saying, no, we're losing the game, mate. We've got to keep on pushing. You don't deserve to have a rest. Keep going, have that Vyvanse, get that amphetamine in you, and keep on pushing. And that is a little bit of a dangerous spiral to go down, because, you keep pushing the envelope, and then these thoughts get more extreme, the anxiety grows, the energy required to push back against that grows as well. Then all of a sudden we've burnt the candle at both ends. We're burnt out. We've just done something really erratic that I didn't want to do, and really impulsive, but my barriers are down because I'm so just fried out of my head. These are the things I've got to be careful of. So I've got to find that balance. I've got to get to work. I've got to stay awake and not do this 3 day sleeping thing. But at the same time, I've got to look after number one and look after the self, because overall, that is where the best results will happen. From a healthy, stable, Elliot that's locked in, well rested and firing on all cylinders, not the one that rubs his eyes so hard he gets a black eye because he's so tired and just charges, having a heap of amphetamine just to keep going, not eating or anything, losing weight everywhere, super anxious, petrified. There's sort of two roads to go down, but at the moment I'm struggling to get to the healthy side because I don't know, I've got this feeling inside, just got to keep pushing, keep getting the work done because we're not winning at the game of life. And that is a very negative cognition, and that is very much what this week has been like. So there you go. All right, well, that's it for this episode. The Vyvanse must have kicked in because we've just clicked over 20 minutes. I thought this was going to be about 4 or 5 minute one. So there you go. I've waffled on. Hopefully some of that has made a bit of sense. It's been an interesting week, but I'm almost at the end of it. And then next week we go again. Very excited, and I'll let you know all about how it goes. All right, thank you for listening. If you're enjoying the show, feel free to like, subscribe, give the show a great rating because it's good for the algorithm, and you can share it around with your mates. And you can follow me on Instagram at elliot.t.waters. Until next time, see you later.